Takealot has what they call the marketplace.
Yeah.
So they've actually got two arms. The one is the retail division, and the other one would be the marketplace. The marketplace would be anybody can actually sell there.
Yeah.
Retail is them determining what they think would actually sell. And the nice thing, especially with Takealot being the biggest marketplace in South Africa, is that typically people go onto Google, they search for an item, they place it in their basket, they actually make that purchase. When a customer places an order, Takealot holds the money for 3 days. This will be the same for any sort of card transaction that actually happens in one form or another.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Investor Chair series where we speak to people in different industries to understand how they deal with money or how that industry generate money, basically anything related to money from the specific industry they are in. Today we are touching on the tech side of South Africa. An industry which a lot of people don't take it that serious, where they're saying, it's South Africa, man. But we're looking into it to see how does the tech side of South Africa work, the retail tech side as well, everything in between. I have a beautiful, wonderful guest that understand the field itself. So guys, without wasting any time, please do ensure you like, subscribe, and if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do ensure you follow the podcast. So without wasting any time, let's jump right straight into it. So one thing I don't do, and I'm sure you know this from my Twitter spaces or whatever podcast I do, I hate introducing guests because I always feel like I will introduce you in the way I perceive you, which is not the same way you see yourself.
Yeah.
So in short, how will you introduce yourself?
Pretty much a tech enjoyer.
Yeah.
As in I like playing around with tech.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, that's actually gotten me into selling tech as well. So it's pretty much a playground on a daily basis. Yeah, so obviously founder and managing director of a company called African Technopreneurs. But I think, of course, as you already know, from the Clubhouse days to obviously Twitter Spaces, and obviously now it's called X.
No one calls it X. No one calls it X.
Yeah, but that's primarily my background. And often, of course, avid reader and the likes. But yeah, always just wanting to connect people within the tech scene as well.
And before we jump straight into talking about tech, the economic side of tech, the financial side of tech, I want to play two games. Okay. The first game is I will list 5 gadgets or tech products. Okay. And I want you to rank which one do you think is the most sold in South Africa. I'll give them 5 and you just list them one by one.
Okay.
If you think this one is number 1, this is number 2, number 3. So we have smartphones. Do you think are the most sold tech products in South Africa or not? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4?
Probably say number 1.
Number 1?
Yeah.
Okay, we have printers.
Probably number 3.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Okay, we have smartwatch.
Probably number 5.
Number 5, we have tablets.
Tablets, number 2.
We have now laptops.
Probably number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
You only got one right. You
Which
only got that one right. Smartphones.
Yeah. And the rest of the order?
So the order is smartphone number 1.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised about the smartwatch number 2.
Okay. No, it makes a whole lot of sense.
I was surprised. I thought people buy laptop more than smartwatches.
Yeah.
And laptops are number 3, printers number 4, and tablets number 5.
Okay.
And that's surprising to me. I never thought tablets, smartwatches were that big in South Africa.
I suppose in terms of the price range and the likes, as in quite a lot of people, especially the reason why I actually have a smartwatch is just because, you get so many notifications and the likes when it rings.
You just need to.
Yeah, exactly.
So now let's talk about your journey into tech, right?
Yeah.
But me and both of you, I think we both of you come from townships. We are raised the black community. No parents say, go be a techpreneur. No parents say, go study to be in the tech field, to be a tech engineer. We also, all our parents say, go be a doctor, go be a nurse, a police, a lawyer.
Yeah.
How did you end up in tech?
It's like a very long journey. I think when I was like 5 or 6, my dad actually taught me how to disassemble a computer, put it back together. I think it was like a Pentium 2 back then. So yeah, it's a long time coming. Ever since then, I've always been the person that even when it came to school and the likes, I'll be fixing people's computers and such. Even when I was actually, I think primary school and high school, I used to actually bring in computer parts and often actually sell them to the public.
Ooh.
So right now, I think my profile must still be on carbonite.co.za. So I didn't even have a website. It was a forum. So that's how I actually saw tech. Then, long story short, that takes me to Asia. So I was in Malaysia ever since I think this is 2011. Did my undergrad, which is a Bachelor of Science in software engineering. Then after that, became an iOS developer. So I was obviously coding for the iPhone. Specifically, it was actually the iPad.
So you worked for Apple?
No. I was just a coder. As in I just had Xcode, so pretty much downloaded that and opened the rest is history. And I think my love of actually being able to sell or trade has become second nature. So when I got back into the country in 2017, it was just a natural fit. I didn't even have to get that far. So it was 2017, 2018. That's when we started even selling on Takealot. And the rest is history. As in built out the websites and the likes. Usually I can just tell you on the farm where we actually operate. That's where I'm actually the go-to person to sort out anything tech related. But
So now the tech industry is still, honestly, we are not at a scale where we can compete with the world in South Africa. Do you see it reaching that level based on your years of experience in tech and working in all of it?
Yeah, I see it's happening. Of course, like with what you're saying, is that nobody tells the kid to be like, hey, get into the tech field. I think because now there's a whole lot of money flowing around, that's when people have a bit more interest. But I think there's quite a lot of development. If we think of like WooCommerce, I think that was actually developed here in South Africa. Even the guys behind AWS, I might be mistaken, but they were also based down in in Cape Town as well. So I think slowly but surely, it is just going to get there. I think once you've actually seen people who represent you in the field, you're more likely to actually try it out. Whereas if all you're just seeing is Asians in the tech field, you'll think that it's only an Asian thing. Or if, for instance, you only see Europeans and even Americans. So I think it's slowly but surely going to get there. But I think it's just that accessibility, because I think that was the biggest concern back in the day as well.
Let's stay within that idea of accessibility, accessing the tech industry space. If someone is watching right now, right? They're like, hey, I love tech. I love gadgets. I love understanding coding. I love IT. Basically, all the tech side. In your simplest way possible, in the way you understand it, what do you think are the best steps to take to better enter the space?
Go to chat.com. So ChatGPT. I think I've necessarily used that for a variety of things. The nice thing is that, of course, the cost, if you can go to the pro plans, that's around like what, $20, which is close to like 400 Rand per month. But I think just being able to use it as a learning guide, where you can actually ask any question. So you can even ask it to break it down at any particular age level as well, or maybe to use comparisons as to stuff that you actually want. But I think the best way to actually learn about tech is by actually playing around with it. So even like, of course, my background has been quite tech focused, but I think with quite a lot of these AI tools, it actually speeds up the process of you being able to actually learn quite a lot of the concepts, which I suppose if anybody has been within the tech field for quite some time, have been the likes of Stack Overflow. Or you have to look for someone who's also a fellow techu who can actually guide you through that process. But I think these days, especially like with YouTube and the likes, there's just so much information that you can actually jump in from different angles. So you want to actually build an app for the iPhone, you can actually do that just by going through tutorials. I think I did most of my learning through the likes of YouTube. And this was even like your... I think Stanford's courses, and you can just imagine it's quite comprehensive. This is for your computer science class and the likes. But I would probably say chat.com. It's easy to remember.
And now coming to the courses, we just mentioned that. We see a lot of this coding course to do, blah, blah, Amazon of that. Are they truly the value that people make them to be? Because now you see like people, you want to go to coding, Amazon has this course, Google has this course. Let's touch on that. Are those courses what the time and energy people put them to be?
So I think the best way to actually learn is by actually doing. So I think if, for instance, your first project is building up like your own personal website, that's something that I still need to actually just do. But just being able to put it into practical use. So I think even back in the day when there were certain things where I'm not too sure if it's still a thing with Windows computers and the likes, but I remember that, when you've got your headphone jack plugged in and the sound is at max volume, when you pull out the jack, obviously it would be blaring. So I literally just wrote a simple script that when I pulled out the headphone jack, it would actually reduce the volume and actually pause the actual playing of whatever's in the background.
Yeah.
So I think just practical ways of what you're actually trying to look for, rather than actually thinking, oh, there's this big idea. So same thing, go onto chat.com, maybe you've got a few interests here and there, you can build anything in that regard. So I think that's been the avenue that I've actually seen work quite well. And then I think, the unfortunate part is that with these same courses, the only way that you can actually learn is by actually going through them. It's like, for example, reading books. There's a certain threshold that when you read so many self-help books, they all have the same sort of message in one
same theme.
So, like for myself, I've had to just go through the School of Hard Knocks in a way. So I think like the most recent course that I spent like a whole week was the Google Hustle Academy.
Yeah.
That was touching more towards like your AI and the likes. It was actually quite practical, but I think that only helps when you've actually been playing around with AI for quite some time. Yeah. So I think, at least for me, Stanford and those courses have actually worked. I think once you go through quite a lot of these other online courses that you pay for and the likes, you can necessarily sift what is actually good information and what is bad information. Yeah.
And now we are still within that, right? One thing I have to ask now is not even just ask. Tech in South Africa still young. We agreed on that. But there's still space for more people to enter. And you already said ways in which people can enter and how they can use and be practical in the space. But a lot of people want to use tech to start businesses, like you have done, right?
Yeah.
The financial side of tech, the management of money in tech.
Yeah.
What's your feeling around it? Do you think people in tech fully understand money management? Or is still that theme of saying, hey, tech bros just know how to blow money in?
I think obviously on my side, because it isn't so much software based, it's primarily hardware based. So I think if you think of like agriculture and the likes, it's all about the cash flow. So you have to buy the product. So like for myself, my journey started with even having to know that there's such a thing as dealer pricing. Where I just sent an email to the guys in China. You can just imagine, I think I'd only seen their faces probably 2 years later, as in it was all emails, all WhatsApps, never actually got into an actual call and the likes. But there's, I think the aspect of any sort of management, because I think I really felt the pain when it came to COVID. So you can just imagine we were dealing with physical goods. And China produces most of these physical goods. So for quite a few months, we were left in a bit of a situation. So I think with the software side, I can't really attest to that. But of course, there are quite a few techies that we've actually seen where they've actually made quite a bit of cash being able to build their own products and the likes. But that's just obviously from my secondhand aspect. But I think even when it came to the fact of when I was in Malaysia, one of the things I used to do was actually do side projects. And you just think of a number, charge the client whatever it is, and see as how things go. As in, even when we think of, this was during COVID as well, I think you know Mash and Oopstar. So we had actually been building websites. I think we were charging like 5 to 10K. This is Shopify websites. We obviously even built a few of them for free. But there's the money if you're actually willing to look for it.
But it's the management side of it.
So, I think with anything, get a good accountant. That's what I can just say. Don't
do it yourself.
I would say, as in I studied accounting. This was in grade 10, 11, and 12. I was just like, no, I don't want to repeat of this. But I think that's just the nature. Probably the biggest thing that I always worry about is payroll. So when you wait for like the 26th, the 20th or so, you know people need to be paid by the 25th. So that's primarily, I think, the biggest aspect, where you also have to just make sure that things are operated properly. And I think even one of the things that I've also learned has been the fact of like VAT returns that you do every 2 months or so. Yeah. But these are things that I think, like with anything, when it comes to business, you just have to jump in with both feet.
And now you're saying jump with both feet in and swim with the sharks. That's what you're saying. But the other side of this conversation is the industry itself is rapidly growing, fast-paced growing, and you need to compete. The competition in it. You are in the hardware side of it. How are you seeing the competition itself? But right now, one thing South Africa is crying word is that competition is regulated. Industry is just growing in a minute. If you're a small dog, you get eaten by big shark. Verifies with no one coming. There's no lifeguard. There's no regulation. The competition in South Africa is just wild. How are you dealing with that? Well, that's also impact the financial side of the tech space. As a startup, you're a new guy trying to do something for yourself. You're now struggling.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest aspects is that never be shy to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think you'll see that quite a lot of the guys, especially that we've actually been more of a distributor of the products, that you'll be very surprised that you talk to any of these same guys, especially in the retail space, they'll tell you as in, hey, there's seasons as to how things actually play out in one from another. But I think also just the fact of, like I said, because I'm in the tech side of things, I'm always actually on the lookout for new things. Because I can just tell you, when it was 2018, we're most likely one of the only ones, if one or two of the only ones selling VR headsets on Takealot.
Yeah.
Then, of course, people pick up when they can see that something is actually working quite well, that more and more people actually jump into the space. So I think the unfortunate nature is that the sooner you can get in, the better.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance, we supply the likes of even Wits University.
Yeah.
They bought, I think, around 15 of these same VR headsets and the likes. But that's also because of the community. I think it might be an overused word, but sometimes actually knowing people within the space actually helps you. So that's why, for instance, if you think of like hackathons, that's something I haven't even touched on. People like Mishu from Geek Culture, they necessarily try and get more people into the same space of realizing that, hey, like a computer, as in it's prone to breaking. It's not like a human body. As in you can code, if it crashes, you can always just reboot it up and start again.
And you mentioned something that just now my mind just stuck on Takealot.
Yeah.
You mentioned Takealot. You sell on Takealot.
Yeah.
I know the conversation was supposed to be about that, but now like my mind is not interested. But I always wondered how Takealot sales work.
Yeah.
And for you, because right now there's also the issue of Amazon coming in as well.
Yeah.
Takealot sales. How does it work? I know this is also part of the conversation, but I'm stuck. I'm
Okay.
like, how does it work?
So obviously, I think you know that Takealot has what they call the marketplace.
Yeah.
So they've actually got two arms. The one is the retail division, and the other one would be the marketplace. The marketplace would be anybody can actually sell there.
Yeah.
Retail is them determining what they think would actually sell. So typically, what you'll see if you go into like any of like the SanDisk listings, you'll see that typically it won't actually say that it was sold by another company. It will typically just be that it says it's available from Takealot within 2 to 3 days. So with the marketplace, like with any marketplace, anybody can actually sell and the likes, you determine the price. And the nice thing, especially with Takealot being the biggest marketplace in South Africa, is that typically people go into Google, they search for an item, they place it in their basket, they actually make that purchase. And they work on two sides. The one would be lead times, meaning that, for instance, you don't have to send stock to Takealot immediately. It's only up until a customer places an order, then you actually send the stock to Takealot. So typically it would either be to their Johannesburg DC, the one in Kempton Park, or for instance in Cape Town, or recently so now in Durban as well. So now there's 3 distribution centers that they actually deal with. Then when it comes to payouts, what happens is that when a customer places an order, Takealot holds the money for 3 days. This will be the same for any sort of card transaction that actually happens in one form or another. So the thing is that after that, what necessarily plays out is that they typically these days pay out every Thursday. So what would actually play out would be that you have your sales come through. If they've cleared on Thursday, you get paid out. Friday, you get your money. Before, it used to be that they paid every 7th day. So it would be the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, or the 28th. And the funny thing is that sometimes if that day was like a Saturday, you'd wait for that money on Monday. Yeah. So that's primarily how they've actually operated over the years. I've seen them change quite a bit. Before, they used to not be a booking system. Now there's a booking system. Before, it used to be the case that you could send anything to their warehouse. Now they limit what you can actually
send.
Yeah, so depending on if there's high demand, then they allow you to send a certain amount of stock. If there's a high demand, they expect you to wait for an order to come through before you can actually send it to them.
And also because we always cry about Takealot prices going up and down like this. Because I'm one person on Twitter, I always, especially Black Friday, I'm like, on Thursday, this thing was 100 Rand. It's Black Friday now, there's 50% off, but it's 150. How?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Because it's a marketplace, I think you know that there was a whole situation with the Competition Commission where they were trying to regulate pricing. But technically speaking, it is actually illegal. So the thing is that people on the marketplace can set whatever price that they want. So that's why, for instance, of course, with the retail arm, they try as much as possible to be the ones to buy from the suppliers directly. Whilst when it actually comes to the fact of the marketplace, it's the wild, wild west. I can just tell you that. So, for instance, it's either that someone might be selling an item for 15,000, sometimes for 10,000. sometimes for 12,000. It really depends as
So
to what
basically,
plays out.
the people who are selling on Takealot in the marketplace,
Yeah.
they are the one that moving the price up
Exactly.
and down.
So Takealot has no control. All they can be like, well, to try and make it fair, can you please change your prices? But like with what happened with COVID, we literally were selling our VR headsets for I think 3 times the price because nobody else actually had stock. So that's
The low supply and demand.
exactly. So it's as simple as that. So again, is that of course you'll see that the reason why there's also those margins as well is that with the marketplace, and the nice thing with Takealot is that they're transparent. You go into takealot.com/sell. I'm obviously plugging myself there. You'll see my video when I had longer hair. But the mirror is that's there. They'll even tell you as in how much they'll actually take for every single sale that actually goes through. So that can be anywhere from I think 3.5 north of like 15% that they actually take. And then they also charge you for the shipments going to customers as well.
But you also have your own marketplace, your own store.
Yeah, my own online store.
Yeah. So now let's talk about that as well. Let's move to that, like the commercial side of that. How does it take to compete with? But now you have your own place. You also compete with those others. How's the competition there?
Yeah, so the thing is that so the nice thing with the marketplace is that they do all the marketing for you to try and grab the customers. Whilst when it's your own online store, that's when you actually have to do all the work, be it that is social media, be it that is actually having to pay for ads, be it that is Facebook ads or Google ads and the likes. So it's a different kettle of fish because you can just imagine with Takealot, they charge, I think, probably 400 Rand per month. That's it.
So you also have to pay for them to take a lot.
Yeah.
And also when you make a sale, they take a portion of the sale.
They take a portion. But the thing is that if you look at when you're running your own store, the first thing is that you've also got your card merchant processes and the likes. Obviously, I might be butchering the term, but the mirror is that, for instance, like with Yoko takes 3%
Of your sale.
of your sales. Obviously, if you sell more, they can actually reduce that percentage. But we've obviously been able to even negotiate down to like 1% to 2%. But the thing is that you also have to be the one to pack the boxes and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where, for instance, the nature is like even with Payflex and Pages now. I think you know them where you can split payments and the likes, but they take a nice 5%.
So when they tell us you can split your sale for 4 months, no interest free.
Yeah.
The sale is the one paying.
Yeah, so the seller is the one actually paying.
So now that means basically,
Yeah.
if, for example, they say, I'm selling this laptop on my website, you can pay for 3 months interest free. The seller can add that 5% to the sale actually.
Pretty much. So that's what you actually have to do as a seller. So you have to actually take into consideration all your costs. Or else, for instance, you might think that, okay, they're taking a nice 5%, but if it goes below your costs,
Now it's in the profit.
Exactly.
So let's move into now talking about the growth. Okay, so before I move, between the two, Takealot and your own website, which one is actually better?
Your own website, because you've got customer information.
Yeah.
Takealot, they keep all that information to
Oh,
themselves.
you don't know.
So you don't know who exactly bought and the likes. It's only when customers request for an invoice request and you have to issue out an invoice. But apart from that, it's a black box. You can't retarget those customers and the likes. So Takealot literally takes a whole lot. Whilst, for instance, when it comes to our customers, we've at least had like a return rate of around like 40+%. So people who've already bought from our website are typically guys who also buy again.
Oh, I see. Now let's move into the overall milestone of the tech industry in South Africa. What do you think right now is the biggest milestone we've achieved in South Africa in terms of tech?
Tech. What do you mean by milestone?
What now sets South Africa apart? Like, okay, you see, like when it comes to the USA, we say Amazon and Microsoft and Apple have been the pinnacle, the milestone of American success in tech. In South Africa, what do you think is that milestone or that statue you can say, or that company that said it has hit the pinnacle of tech in South Africa? This company have done so much for tech in South Africa that they are our brand ambassadors are in tech.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously I don't know much with the likes of BCX, but I think that's a huge company that is owned by this is Telkom, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
actually.
but it's obviously a big company that I've seen showing success in one form or another. Apart from that, obviously we can talk of Takealot, as in I think there's nobody actually covering their footprint for the time being. As in Amazon came in, but the mirror is that, of course, they don't know the landscape as it stands. But apart from that, I haven't actually seen that much. Obviously, I think when it comes to like events, like hackathons and the likes, I would still say geek culture. I'm just plugging them there because at least they have actually been able to reach out to schools and the likes and getting more people involved in coding and such. But yeah, as in that's primarily just what actually comes off the top of my head. I wouldn't really think like even when we think of like multi-choice, you can already see where that's going.
Hey, let me leave that alone. Let me leave that alone. And now, but I have two more points we need to cover before we conclude. I don't want this conversation too long. One thing about me, keep it short, straight to the point. Now, what do you think is the current biggest trend in the tech space in South Africa?
Sure. The thing is that as far as it goes, it's a trend that's picking up, but I'm not too sure how long it'll actually get there. Funny enough, it's again virtual reality.
Virtual reality.
Yeah, so I think if you look at it, for quite some time, that space has been dominated by Meta. So obviously, I think you already know Meta used to be Facebook. So now, for instance, they sell under the brand MetaQuest, right? But you can see that there's a slow trend that's coming through because, like for example, they've got the Ray-Ban Metas, so the smart glasses. And then, funny enough, it's the fact that you even see Apple jumping into the VR space. Of course, it's a very expensive headset for like $3,500. That's anywhere north of like, 80,000+ rand. It's not going to be accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
But with the VR headsets, you can see that they are getting better and better and better. And it's like the evolution of what tech would be. So again, is that, for instance, you think of like your laptop screen and the likes. Of course, it wouldn't be the most impressive thing to actually have these same goggles and such. But it actually opens up new avenues for even like education and the likes. So you can just imagine a kid doesn't actually have to go to, let's just say, the cradle of humankind and the likes. They can put on a VR headset and experience it there.
Are they developers for such things like the apps for VR itself? Do we have some?
Yeah, we do. That's why, for instance, like even with VR, with Vits, they've slowly but surely been getting into it. Even after we've actually supplied them with VR headsets as well. But we also have, like, funny enough, a community called We Are VR, where there are plenty of guys within the space who do everything from wildlife to even creative and even, for example, tutorial or educational. So instead of, like, for instance, getting a person to learn about the mining industry when it comes to blasting and the likes, they can put on a VR headset and have a simulation compared to the fact of actually having to take caution in the actual field. Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. And that's a plug, guys. If you want to get into space, you can create those things.
Yeah.
Be able to create those applications, develop them for yourself. Now, vision. Now, last question or last point. What is your vision for the tech space in South Africa? In terms, number one, in terms of the financial side, and number two, in terms of career development and branding.
Yeah, so the thing is that even though I started the company mainly focused on distribution, I would actually want to, and it's a 3-phase system: distribution, assembly, and then manufacturing.
Yeah.
And the mere fact is that I think we just need to get more people involved in actually building the tech. So rather than actually always being importers of this tech and the likes, wouldn't it be great that we can actually have
make it?
Exactly. And I think there have been a few strides here and there, but it's still going to take some time. At least we're a part of BRICS. I'm not too sure how beneficial that would be for us, but I think just being able
China
to...
is there. India is there.
Yeah. So I think that's just the future that I see is that there should be more assembly, because you think of like 3D printers, right? You can actually 3D print your own things in one for another. So soon enough, you can just imagine you've got an idea. You don't even have to really get into the nitty-gritty. AI actually helps with quite a lot of that.
Yeah.
And being able to actually now have it purpose for whatever activity that you actually want. So I think that's primarily it. That's I think anybody who's in the tech field also realizes that everything and anything around us is actually tech.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like tech. It can be like, hey, maybe you want to make a better microphone.
Yeah.
As in, you're in the audio space, how can you actually improve that one for another?
So basically, you're saying that we need to own the means of production in the tech space.
That's true.
That's so beautiful. And in closing, what's something we want to say to any viewer, young person, aspiring tech enthusiasts that are watching right now?
Yeah.
What's the one thing you want them to take away from this conversation we had today?
just play around. As in,
I think that's the theme you've been going through. And just play around, be practical.
Yeah, just play around because
You believe in practical need.
because, like, for instance, you can just think of how did I get into like tech? It was the fact that I still remember blowing up my one computer, and the likes. Of course, there had to be like silicone put on the back to make sure that I didn't blow the power supply again. But it was just that. Even when it comes to, if you think of like the crypto side of things, right? Obviously, there's a whole lot of gambling there. Yeah. That's for sure. But the only
Different
way,
conversation.
exactly. But the main part is that you had to play around with it. I had to play around with it to figure out, as in, like, even when I was hearing about NFTs, like, people are buying pictures.
Buying memes, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just being able to just have the sense of curiosity, because I think curiosity is what actually gets quite a lot of people within the space of actually being able to contribute in one form or another. So I think just being, it's like that, it's a cliche line from Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the avenue that everybody just needs to go down, where, for instance, you never know. As in, you might be going into, let's just say, the health field. Yeah. Right? You play around with virtual reality, you might actually have a few new ideas that actually help you in your field. Be it that, for example, it's automotive. Funny enough, we even helped guys within the military space, where, for example, virtual reality made it so much easier for people to even look at what the premises and the likes would actually look like for where people actually operate. So I think, that's primarily it. Just be willing to experiment. Of course, when you always start, you're always going to look like the fool. But that's how we all start. As in, you always have to necessarily stumble a few times before you can actually start walking.
And I told you in the beginning, I played 2 games. We played one.
Yeah.
The last one is hold or sell. I'll give you a list of companies. You need to tell me if you're gonna hold
this is not financial advice.
Yeah, guys, not financial advice. Just play a game. Just play a game. Give a list of company. You're gonna say, "Well, hold it."
Yeah.
Or you're gonna sell it. Number 1, Microsoft.
I would hold.
Standard Bank.
Yeah. So.
Okay, let's go to the other one. Apple,
I would hold.
A Visa card.
Visa card.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. They're making quite a few strides within the crypto space, so I'll still say it's a hold.
Hold.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. ABSA.
ABSA, sell.
PPC Cement.
PPC Cement. Maybe hold. I don't know how much construction is happening, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a funny one. I was waiting for you to say bye. Because you used to love those small cap companies, the JSE. Okay, last one, Aveng.
Yeah. Let's not have a repeat of that.
I'm just asking, Aveng.
Hey, we might as well just sell. Yeah.
Sell.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. It was beautiful having you.
Not a problem.
The fact that you can cover so much in a short space of time, and also share your knowledge about the space of tech, talking about marketplace as well, talking about your business, talking about visual reality, talking about what you think is the issue within the space. Because a conversation a lot of time we don't have. As much as this platform is all about finances, but finance doesn't exist in isolation. It exists in a lot of industries. It exists in a lot of space. And sometimes we need to talk about those spaces because you can't invest money while you can earn money.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think
true.
Having this conversation allows people to be able to know how to earn money. So thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. And for you guys watching or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please do ensure that you hit the like button, you follow, you subscribe, leave me a comment. Also, let me know which guest you want to have on this series. As I said, guys, I'll be having a lot of this series. I'll be trying to be committed this year. I promise. I try. Keyword, I will try. Until next time, guys, as always, happy investing and goodbye.